Hello and welcome to the Organic Adventure Show. I'm Cy Rodriguez, and today we are going to be talking about a subject that was a very difficult subject for me to talk about. Originally, when I started thinking about it, it's actually been something that's been on my mind for a while that I wanted to write about or make a video about, and I didn't do it right away because I had lots of mixed feelings about it. And so title of this video is Masturbation Healthy for Men, and I do have some notes here I'm going to be following a little bit to try and stay on track. A long-term NoFap confession. If you don't know what that means, stick with me and I will let you know. So before we get into this, if you don't know what masturbation is, please turn this off. It's not meant for you if you're a young person. And anybody under the age of 13, please turn this off. Now, any young person, I would caution you to ask your parents to see this video if this is a subject you're interested in and you want to know more about it. Then I would encourage you to talk with your parents about it, not to listen to this video. I don't want to be responsible for young people thinking about this subject, and I'm just going to say right now, please don't watch it if you are a young person. Now, I do think this video can be helpful for a lot of people, including young people who have a problem with masturbation. And I just want to go ahead and start by telling you a little bit about myself. And I grew up probably like many young men did, and I masturbated pretty regularly and sometimes excessively. It was a major part of my life, and I can remember hiding in the bathroom and all of this type of behavior, not wanting to get caught, and especially being in a Catholic family was obviously viewed as something that wasn't good for you. So as time went on, I had mixed feelings about it. Didn't know if it was good for me or not, but I often had this feeling like I did better around girls when I didn't engage in masturbation. And so I would try to go for periods of time without masturbating, and it usually did seem to help, but I didn't have any idea about the things that I'm going to be sharing with you here in a minute. So let me make sure I get on my train of thought here. So long story short, I masturbated a lot as a kid, and like I said, sometimes excessively, and I won't go into the details about how much, but it was a lot. And whenever I would find porn, because I would often find porn on my paper route, I would take it with me and view it later, and it was an issue. So later, as I was mentioning, I wanted to know if this was a healthy behavior. So I called a doctor anonymously and just asked about this subject. And the answer that I got was, oh, masturbation is healthy, completely normal, and if you want to do it, you should. You don't have anything to worry about. So I continued to do it, continued to have these problems with it, viewed porn sometimes, didn't view it other times, and just kind of went back and forth with doing it and not doing it. And eventually it came to the point where I would very rarely actually have an orgasm or an ejaculation, but I would sometimes, but I still would. And I even saw wet dreams as something that was a beneficial thing. So let's fast forward a little bit here and get right into the point of this video, and that is that I have found that masturbation is probably not good for you. It's probably not healthy for men, and I'm going to go into some details and even talk about a few studies that will emphasize my point and even point you in the direction of something called NoFap, which is a practice of no masturbation that a lot of people claim to get benefit from. But let's look at a couple of the big deals for people that kind of have kept them in a state of masturbation. And one of those is masturbation, or is masturbation good for the prostate? So a lot of men, and I've heard many men say this myself, that oh yeah, it keeps the pipes clean, keeps prostate cancer away if you masturbate. And they'll say that this is some kind of study. There's been some study that shows there's a relationship here. So I'm sorry to have to break the bad news to you, but this is actually not true. There's no evidence to support this whatsoever. And you may be surprised to learn that the medical community in general considers ejaculation frequency to be completely unrelated to whether a person gets prostate cancer or not. In fact, there is one study that actually links more general sexual activity in combination with masturbation to higher rates of prostate cancer. So, at best, masturbation is not going to help you and with your prostate, and at worst, it's going to give you a higher chance of getting prostate cancer. So that's just good to know, because you want to go based upon facts. If you really want to know if masturbation is healthy for men, go by the facts. So next question. So are there any health benefits of masturbation? Okay, there is one. And some experts say it might improve cardiovascular health. And as one author has pointed out, so does walking up the stairs. So it's really not going to improve cardiovascular health in any significant sort of way. And there's obviously other ways you can do it that might be better for you. So I also want to just say again, I'm not bashing pleasure, and I'm not coming from a place of like, you're a bad person if you do this or whatever. I obviously have experience with this, and I've come to a different place, and now my only intention here is to help and to share my own experience in hopes that the understanding of what I'm sharing is going to help you to make your own decision. And I want to emphasize that what you do, I don't care what you do, in the sense, it's up to you, okay? And I'm not against you if you don't go along with me, and I even want to know how you feel about it. And the question that we have to ask ourselves is not just, is masturbation good for males, but is masturbation actually bad for health? And I have a lot of experience to say that it probably is bad for your health, but lots of other people have said the same thing. And I just want to emphasize this with a couple of points, and also with some scientific evidence. But the first thing I want to point out is myself, like most others, I think most men can relate to this. Even if you feel a little bit relaxed after you have an orgasm, don't you generally kind of feel tired and like you want to go to sleep, and even uninterested in sex after masturbation or ejaculation? Many men do feel this way. In fact, most men feel tired at the very least. And so that's a best case scenario of what masturbation that ends in ejaculation leads to. But what a lot of people don't know is that for some men, masturbation can actually be debilitating, literally. There's an illness called post-orgasmic illness syndrome, or POIS. And it's like a really bad hangover that some men get after ejaculation. And some of the symptoms are muscle soreness, extreme fatigue, feeling like a person has the flu, and it can take 4 to 7 days for these symptoms to disappear after an orgasm. So that's a pretty big deal. And also, you're going to lose some libido after an ejaculation. Some men think of this as a good thing, and I have emphasized in the article that I wrote about this that the something about Mary movie, it's like getting the baby batter out of the system helps you to be around the woman that you like more, because you're not thinking about that one thing anymore. And I'll give the credit to the movie for the point it made, and it's true. You're not going to be thinking as much about sex, probably if you're around a hot woman that you like, if you already had an orgasm. But that is also going to be lowering your libido. And my thoughts on that are, do you think that a woman is going to be more attracted to you after you lose your libido? And is she going to be like interested in you in a sexual sort of way down the road if your libido is lower? And my thought is maybe as a friend. And I'm going to go into a little experiment that was done on mice, and I think that men can relate to this. Most men can relate to this, I'm sure about it. But experiments on mice showed that after a mouse has been with one female for a specified mating period, he loses interest and can't be aroused again for a certain amount of time unless a new female is introduced. So it's the novelty idea, getting a new image in front of you that can actually arouse you again, but you're not able to be aroused by the same person after you've depleted yourself. And for a lot of people, that's one orgasm. That's plenty. You're not interested anymore. And I know a lot of people can probably relate to it when they're doing some sexual activity that is even with another person that is really engaging and feels so amazing until you have an orgasm, and then it doesn't seem nice at all anymore. It's more gross. So bottom line is that you lose some interest after you've had an orgasm, and it takes something new, a new image, in the case of porno, for example, to get you aroused again. And that's why pornography can be so addictive. And I know we're not exactly like mice, but just making that point, and I do want to go into more about how it actually affects men. So when we masturbate, dopamine levels increase in the brain, and they cause us to feel intense pleasure. And unfortunately, those dopamine levels drop significantly right after our orgasm, and that's what leaves us uninterested. So let's go a little deeper in this. If you are a person who masturbates and looks at porn, you can become aroused over and over again by these new images, even after you're depleted. And your pleasure center of your brain, called the limbic system, dominates the rest of your brain, including your frontal cortex, which is responsible for basically for your responsibility of yourself, for your willpower, your reasoning, your values, your goals. It literally shrinks, and your pleasure center takes over, and it doesn't matter what the cost is. So basically, masturbation to porn leads to your pleasure center growing, your thought logic system shrinking, and as you do this more, it becomes, the limbic system, the pleasure center, becomes stronger and pretty much dominates you. So you basically become mastered by your limbic system, and you'll repeat this kind of behavior based upon the way it makes you feel. And a lot of people end up super depleted this way and very unhealthy. And I'm going to go ahead and point to maybe the reason why this happens. So there was a study done on men that involved them depleting themselves. And so what they did is they depleted themselves by having ejaculations 2.4 times per day for 10 days. And after this depletion period, it took them more than 5 months to get their sperm output back to where it was before the depletion period. So there's a 5-month period, once you're in this depleted state, to actually reboot yourself and get your sperm levels back to where they were before. And so that's a lot of loss and a lot of time for recovery. And in the Eastern world and the world of meditation, and even in sports, there's the belief that if you masturbate or have an orgasm, that you're basically going to lose some energy, and that it's probably a good idea to at least perform your sport activity or your big event, and then wait until after to actually engage in sex or masturbation. And there's a little bit of mixed studies on that subject, but the bottom line is that there is a recovery period, and it's extreme if you deplete yourself. Even one orgasm creates a 7-day it's basically a 7-day period of bringing you back to where you were before. So you masturbate, 7 days later, you're back at the place that you were before in your physiology. So there's a 7-day physiological change going on from one orgasm. So that's requiring energy from your body, and obviously it has some kind of effect on you. Let's just go ahead and go a little bit further with this. Okay, so let's get into the good stuff, and that is the experience of NoFap, or no masturbation. There's quite a following to this subject on the internet right now, and you can learn a lot more about it and get testimonials and listen to people who just are experienced with no masturbation, or at least cutting back their masturbation habit and their viewing of porn. And most of them claim lots of benefits from doing that. And I'm just going to quote some of those benefits that people have reported, and some of them are pretty significant, especially if you're a person who is suffering from erectile dysfunction. So benefits of quitting masturbating: your erectile dysfunction disappears after a period of time, and you get stronger erections. You have better eating habits, more confidence, more comfortable or at ease with possible mates, more attracted to possible mates. Your voice can sometimes get deeper. Some people report an emergence from brain fog. They have more motivation. They have a return of previous sexual tastes. And that's my own experience too, especially if you're a porn viewer and certain things get you aroused and then other things won't anymore. Generally, if you just quit that for a while, your previous sexual taste will come back. And if you have a partner, that's a really good thing, because you'll be attracted to your partner and more desiring her in that situation, for example. So let's see here. More gains from workouts, more strength in general, and then seeing women differently and a more positive outlook. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to seeing women differently, but if you're a chronic viewer of porn, you're definitely going to go out into the world and you're going to be seeing everybody in a sexual sort of way. And it's definitely not healthy as far as I'm concerned, but I'll let you decide that for yourself in your own conscience and how you feel. So let's see here. Okay, I guess we're going to sum this part up a little bit here, but obviously more research needs to be done to really know the long-term scientific answer to the question of whether masturbation is healthy for males or not. But I'd say that there's a pretty good case that says it's not healthy, and at least doing it infrequently is going to be better for you than engaging in it on a regular basis. And I also just want to touch really quick on the spiritual side of masturbation. And I'm not preaching to you, although it might sound like it. But this is my personal experience, and you might view it completely different. But there is something to consider here. And that is the idea of what happens to you in yourself when you are especially viewing porn on a regular basis. But there are wet dreams, right? So you go to sleep, there's these images, and they cause you to have a wet dream. And for some men, that is pleasurable, or they feel like it's a good thing. But this is something I would consider, and this is the way I think of it, is that when you are viewing porn, these images stick in your mind, and they actually become alive in your mind. They literally almost are like some living spirit. And there is a name for these living spirits called succubi, or a succubus, just one of these spirits. But they come to you in your dream, and they literally steal your life force from you. And some religions actually say that these things kill you or make your health to be very bad over time. And there is definitely truth in that. If you continuously lose your seed, you're going to be less healthy. And there's a lot of people who will testify to that, and probably if you've ever been in that situation yourself, you feel that way. But I know from my own experience of viewing porn that sometimes after I would view porn, I would literally see these images and I couldn't get them out of my head unless I would take some time to breathe and relax out of my bed and actually empty my mind and clear it of these images. And if I didn't do it, then I would basically almost be forced into ejaculation. And yeah, I understand the appeal, but it definitely is not good for you. And my experience is also this, that once you are in this cycle, it's like you are becoming a slave to a master, which is the succubus, and it is, each time it's able to steal your seed, you're becoming weaker, and it's more easily able to steal your seed again and more easily able to arouse you because you basically submitted yourself to it willingly, thinking that you desire this. So that's just some of my thoughts. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you haven't tried NoFap, I definitely recommend it, and I do believe that your self-confidence will improve, and that might be the number one thing that helps you to be in better relationship with your partner or women in general. And I would ask you to just please leave your comments, and whether you like me, hate me, or enjoyed this video or not, just tell me about it. Tell me what you think. Love to hear your opinion. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.